PJNet.TV special edition. It is Friday night sometime, and that would be February 19th. Our bumper's running, we're recording, and we have Matt from Sharon Baptist Church. And we will count down to Studio 20. Well, good evening. Welcome to this special edition of PJNet.TV featuring ministries in the Snowvid-21 pandemic that has gripped the Midwest and a great part of our nation, and many of our churches around the country have opened their doors to the public, and they're providing relief and comfort and ministry to those in need. One such church is Sharon Baptist Church in Chapel Hill, Texas, and from there is the student ministry director, Matt Knight, who has been gracious enough to record this special time with us. Matt, your church is ministering to some pretty cold people right now. When did this all start?
Earlier in the week, when this weather moved in, we started on Tuesday actually reaching out to our community. Had a member of the church call me who had been without power for about 24 hours and had been watching the community page and talking with other members of the church that had been without water. In fact, one couple yesterday that came to the church had been without water since Sunday. And so we just said, you know what? We've got to be the hands and feet of Christ, and we've got to reach out into our community. We've been blessed in our home that we haven't lost power. We have gas heat, so we're good. We've invited church members to come to our home if need be. And so since Tuesday, we've been reaching out to our community. It's about 7 or 8 miles from our house to the church, and the roads are pretty tough. But we've been going and doing what we can to reach out since Tuesday to our folks there in Chapel Hill.
Matt, that's what I'm hearing from not just you but others, that the roads are in such a mess. Even if you open, people are having difficulty making their way to the facilities. Has that been a real challenge for you?
Most definitely. There were, in fact, the guy that I was talking with yesterday and I were a little bit amused. We saw for the first time a snowplow coming through East Texas. It was a trash truck with a snowplow attachment. But they were clearing the roads, and they cleared the roads yesterday with the big plows. We're going to go out again today. In a while, we've got to go to the church and check on some things, check on some people in the area. But I read this morning that the roads have iced back over, even though they cleared them off. So we're just going to see today. But yeah, we kind of laugh in East Texas. Those in Colorado and other places that experience it, they're probably laughing at us because we're not prepared for this.
Well, I'm in Florida, Matt, so when you mentioned snowplow, I'm trying to get a picture of that, what that might look like in my mind. I guess it's a plow of some sort.
Yeah, it's a big lead thing on the front of a trash truck.
So they move the snow around, pile it up on the side of the road, I presume, and then when it melts, now you've got a water problem.
And we have a water problem, and it's like 12 degrees outside right now. So, okay. Yeah,
now,
it's just free.
I haven't done the recon on your church. The first thing I noticed is Sharon Baptist Church. Was Sharon the founding member, or how did
No, actually, it's the church has been on the hill there for about 200 years, and it was called the Sharon Community one time.
I see.
So it's in an area just on the outside of Tyler. We're 7 miles off the loop, and so we're not that far, but we have an ARP address. We're in Chapel Hill. We're kind of in the middle. All of our kids go to Chapel Hill, and so it was just known 200 years ago as a Sharon community, and it was a country church. A lot of the same people come to church that have been generations after generations, and they're farmers. So lots of land, lots of cattle land, typical to that area. So that's where they got its name.
But survivor types. Now, a lot of farmers are struggling because the cold has made a lot of stress for their livestock.
Absolutely.
I don't know what you do. I wanted so bad to just go out there and do something, but I thought, well, what can you do? You know, the water's
Yeah,
frozen.
absolutely.
You know, and animals need water,
No,
including us. So, well,
right.
tell us about some of the people that have come in. You mentioned some members kind of talk this up. So this was sort of an organic and spontaneous idea, but tell us about some of the people that have been helped by this ministry.
Well, there are several families that have come. Again, we put it out on Facebook. We put it out on the Chapel Hill community page, and people have been sharing the fact that we're open. And we just opened our building. My wife and I and another couple fixed a pot of stew and cornbread and things like that. Had coffee and so forth. We had one family from about 5 miles down the road, a family of 9 with a little baby that came, and they spent the better part of all of Tuesday afternoon with us. We had 20 yesterday. Granted, some of those were volunteers, but they were without power and water. And again, they all live within a 5 mile radius that came yesterday of our church. You kind of drive up to Sharon and you top this hill, and there's this beautiful old church that's been on the hill for 200 years, and then you drive down into a pretty populated community. And it's been difficult for them to get into town, but a lot of them have tried to get to us, at least with no power, no water. They're able to come in. We even offered last night, and didn't have any takers, but we offered bed space. We don't have any cots. We have lots of couches in our youth room, recliners, blow up mattresses. And my family said, you know what, we're in it for the day. If you all need to stay, if power goes off again, call us. And we waited around about almost 5 o'clock yesterday. And then, of course, our phone's ready if anybody calls. And had one family that we invited over to stay in our home. Their power came back on just as they were loading up in their truck to come over. So, again, the commandment that Jesus gave his disciples to love your neighbor as you love yourself. And if we're really going to follow that, then we have to reach out to our community.
Well, Matt, as you're describing the church and its age and the generations that have been worshiping and ministering there throughout the generations, literally, here where I live in the South in Florida, I'm just picturing this First Baptist Church kind of look, with stained glass windows and up on the hill and the beautiful scenery normally. But I went to your website and I see a youth group that looks pretty contemporary. Tell us, you're the youth minister there, or is it student or youth slash, what do they call that now? But
Well, I'm worship student pastor, associate pastor, kind of all of the above.
mm-hmm,
Again, we're a smaller congregation. I'm the only full-time staff. Our pastor's bivocational.
oh,
So I wear a lot of hats. We do enjoy a more contemporary style in our worship. We're blended in our worship, leaning toward the contemporary. We in fact, we're in the middle of a building project, and so our sanctuary renovation is very modern, although it still has the flair of the traditional older building.
mm-hmm,
But it was a typical building built in the 70s.
mm-hmm.
And it needed some upgrade, needed a facelift, but we do enjoy a more contemporary flair as we're reaching out to the younger generations. Chapel Hill, Tyler, Texas is a very multicultural region, a lot of Hispanic in our area, and we're doing what we can to reach the younger generation, as we know they are. A lot of times they say the kids are the future of the church, and I tell my youth all the time, you are the church. You are the church today. And we have a very active youth group. In fact, our praise team on Sunday is about 80% youth. And so we really engage our youth in the talents that we have been blessed with.
Well, I guess the youth, we've all heard our parents tell these stories of having walked through the snow blizzard uphill, 7 miles to school, and
Yeah.
but most of us have enjoyed the modern conveniences of air conditioning and heating and electricity and gadgetry, microwave ovens. The students, do they feel like the clock's been turned back 100 years because we take these things for granted?
Yeah, for sure. We talked a lot about that since early 2020. rather, and into 21, and the pandemic, and now the snow apocalypse, as they're calling it. Uh, you know, yeah, I told my girls the other day. I said, you got 2020 that you'll talk about. Now you've got this as we would call it in Texas, it's a blizzard that you experienced in 2021, and you know, 30 years down the road, you'll be telling your kids about this, and they'll be, in awe and amazement, definitely. And we can definitely say, walking because you couldn't get your car out of the drive, and having to, no gasoline, no, the grocery store. I went to the grocery store the other day, insane, trying to buy anything. So it's crazy.
Well, it's not a pleasant reminder, but it is a apparently needed reminder because we have become a little too self-sufficient in our own eyes, and it's easy to squeeze God out when you don't need anything. And you tend to put God and Jesus up on that shelf, and you can always, if you need something, dust it off and bring it down. But the younger generation that you're dealing with, they've never. Is it fair to say they really have not lacked for anything, and for the first time they're starting to understand how hard it must have been for their grandparents and great grandparents just to do the ordinary things of life?
Oh, most definitely. I saw someone posted on Facebook the other day. We're pretty soft compared to 1900. We wouldn't be able to survive. Yeah,
And how to melt some snow. And it's funny because you go on social media and you're starting to see what we today would call a life hack.
Yeah.
At the time, it was called survival skill.
My daughter, friend she goes to school with, and I don't know if they're from. They're not. They're from Africa, Nairobi, I believe. But anyway, been here for a long time. But she commented the other day that her friend's mother made a dinner with melted snow because we hadn't had no water. So I thought, well, that's a pretty genius right there. It works.
Okay, any end in sight?
Well, just watching the weather. We were hoping to go back to church on Sunday. In fact, I've got to call my pastor today and give him an update on the parking lot. It's just like glass yesterday, so I'm pretty sure we're not. Weather's warming up by the weekend. I messaged a friend of mine yesterday and said I'm ready for next Monday's beach weather. It's going to be 57.
Yeah, I saw a picture of Galveston Beach all snowed under, and it was
Yeah.
We've actually here in Florida had something like not on this scale, but we've had snow on the beach here in North Florida. I was at Panama City Beach entertaining a client from up north, and he thought he came down here to warm up, and it's literally snowing for the only time in 100 years that has happened.
Oh, wow.
But in any event, the role of the church in the community, I think, unfortunately, contemporary conveniences, the technology of the day, has made it just a little bit too easy just to focus on worship services, preaching, singing, music, those types of things. And this is a stark slap in the face type reminder that the church is there to meet the needs in the community, and so much of that, has gone away because the government takes care of that now. But now we get a chance to do what Jesus did and intervene directly in the lives of others. That's a lesson I hope that you can translate to your young people there.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're absolutely right. We have to step out, and as I said earlier, if we're going to be the hands and feet of Christ, we have to reach to our community. We have to show love. We have to come together. Our ministry statement at Sharon is loving God, loving people, and living life. And right now we're focused on doing life together and figuring out what's happening tomorrow. Again, I've got to call a couple in a while who hasn't had water since Sunday, and check with a couple of our widows in the church and make sure that they have something to eat today. And it's just kind of where we are right now.
Well, Matt, I've served as the disaster relief director with the Florida Baptist Association for 14 years, And one of the observations that I made is right now everything's in the news. All of the, but what people I don't think realize, because it's just not in the news, those cameras, this storm will eventually go away, the sun will shine, and all those news cameras will vanish. It will not be on Facebook, but people don't know that the needs of people that have been affected by this go far into the future. You've seen the pictures of the pipes that burst and the icicles from the ceiling fan. Okay, well that's real dramatic.
But that's real.
Yeah, when the power comes back on, when the water starts working again, first of all, you're going to find all your plumbing's busted.
Yeah.
So there's going to be needs in the weeks ahead that right now everybody's just hunkered down. Any plans, any ideas, any strategies that have crossed your mind after this is all over, that there's going to be people hurting for weeks and even months ahead?
Yeah, definitely. We haven't really gotten that far into that. I do know of two in our church family who, one lost a hot water heater and flooded their house, and another that was helping. A couple was helping us yesterday. Had to leave early because their pipe busted. And one of our volunteers that was there yesterday knew enough about plumbing to go and help them get it stopped at least. Our community is really good about coming together and helping. And we've got a tight-knit group of business people in our area, and I'm fairly confident that they will help out. And I know a lot of the business and plumbing side and people around because of our renovations and so forth. And
right, yeah, that'll work out good. You can repurpose the.
yeah. So our community is coming together. We have a very tight community, and I feel fairly confident that we will have to do some of this work, but our community and plumbers and electricians and so forth will step up.
You got it. Well, Matt, we are so grateful that you took some time out to share with us this morning, and we just, hope that there's some relief ahead, a break in the weather, and things get back to whatever was normal before all this happened. But thank you for your leadership in your church, your congregation, in that community, because the hands and feet of Christ, you've mentioned it at least twice in our time together here.
Yes, sir.
But this is one of, a lot of times people say those things or hear those things said, but it's hard to imagine sometimes because we say, well, we lack for opportunity. Well, I think that excuse is out the window. Opportunity is abounding. It was there all along. Yes. Okay? But sometimes we don't see it. Matt, with all of the bad things that are happening, thanks for being a beacon of light, a beacon of warmth, a place where people can come and we hope that your church shares the message of Jesus Christ, shares the love of Jesus Christ first.
Yes, I tell my youth all the time, God is working around us. We just have to open our eyes and look and step into where He's already at work. So that's what we have to do.
I think opportunities will abound. I hope that your young people will rally behind your leadership and that this will present opportunities that otherwise would never have been there to share the love of Jesus Christ. And we appreciate Sharon Baptist for its role not only in the community but in the lives of individuals as they move through life, because there are many storms in life.
That's right.
And this is but one, and one type of storm. So, Matt, I know you have people that are waiting for you, and please pass our regards along to your pastor, to your congregation, and thank you. And thank you to your wife, who has been holding that phone faithfully and pretty much steadily throughout this. I know her arm must be getting sore, but thanks for sharing with us, Matt. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right, folks, that is Matt Knight here on PJNet.tv, and what you see there is the aerial view from one of the many cameras that orbit the PJNet.tv broadcast facilities through which we make this possible. Folks, we will be bringing you more and more stories throughout the evening. This is just one of many, but it's time to wrap up. Before I leave, I would like to challenge you to ask yourself 2 questions. Here's the first one. What is the boldest thing that you have ever done for Jesus Christ? And secondly, how long ago was that? I hope none of us will be satisfied with either answer.